Hi, everyone. It's Bob Perkins with AISP's Inside Sales Studio, bringing you another Monday morning sales minute. I hope everyone is staying safe and doing well. I'd like to welcome our special guest today, Kate Lewis. Kate, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me on, Bob.
Kate is the co-founder and CEO of a company called E4Enable, which helps sales leaders. In fact, Kate's been involved in sales leadership for a long time and decided to start this business. So Kate, today you're going to talk about something that's high on the list of every leader, but doesn't necessarily get done very well all the time, and that's called coaching. So you're going to talk to the viewers today about your thoughts and tips for leaders that need to do a better job coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate, very, very passionate about coaching. I'd go so far as to say I'm a believer in a coaching first culture. And that means that you lead in every situation with a coaching conversation. And that's a mindset and cultural shift for many organizations. But through my experience and the experience of our clients, I'd probably boil it down and perhaps oversimplify it, but simplify it down to 4 key steps. If you're really, really serious about adopting and scaling a simple way to take on a coaching first culture. And the first step 1 for me, is defining what good looks like. Defining the blueprint for your organization that will help and frame the conversation for sales leaders. You know, who is it that's performing well? Peeling back the layers and understanding why are they performing well? What are the behaviors, the skills, the attributes, the mindset of those individuals that are creating that performance? And if we can create that blueprint, it becomes a common language. It becomes something that we can imprint on our organization and have everybody working to the same goal, right? So we call those sales competencies or a sales competency framework. What good looks like, or what great looks like, if you're going from good to great, for your organization. And that's the first step. And that's so often missed. People start coaching and they're all over the place, scattergunning, all over the place. Once you've done that, once you've got your competency blueprint or your competency framework, it's then communicating your intention. So step 2 for me is communicate, right from the top down. And not just communicate, but model the behaviors. You know, a CRO or SVP should be leading with a coaching conversation with their managers. And by modeling that behavior, that they're modeling that the sales leaders and the sales managers are also then coaching their teams. But communicate it all the time at the beginning of a sales kickoff, during a sales kickoff, at the end of a sales kickoff, before, during, and after sales training. Make sure it's absolutely clear what the expectations are, what you want those individuals to do, and how you're going to coach afterwards, and what it means to them. So many things fail because you don't make that connection with what's in it for them. You know, if something's pushed on somebody, there's a resistance always to it. Oh, it's another bit of admin. Oh, it's another thing I've got to do.
Right.
Rather than communicating what's in it for them and making that really clear and modeling that. So that's step 2 for me is that communication of intentions and modeling the behavior. Step 3, again, is often missed. You do a sales training and everybody walks away from that sales training and they love the sales training, but they don't do anything afterwards.
Right.
So accountability is really key for me. And for a reinforcement of any behavior change or any coaching environment is holding people accountable for doing the coaching. So making sure those sales leaders are coaching, and part of that is going back to that step 1 and having a framework they can coach to. But creating a visible and transparent way that you can track coaching conversations, you can have that SMART objectives, SMART goals, all of the things you'd want to do to make sure it doesn't become a long to-do list that gets pushed back every time the pressure gets applied from a numbers perspective. So accountability is really key for me and with any coaching for the reinforcement. And it's not just the sales leaders, it's for the sales reps themselves, that clarity on saying you need to prioritize your own development and the skills and the behaviors and all those leading inputs and indicators to make sure that you can achieve the outcomes you want. And hold those individuals accountable to that development and that prioritization as well. So expectation and accountability really, really key in that process. And then the final bit, and I think this is why a lot of coaching programs kind of wane, is the measurement and the success of that coaching program. You know, we're going on a journey, and we need to know where we are on that journey. We need to know what impact that's had in terms of our inputs and our efforts. So it's making sure that you've got really clear leading indicators along that journey that tell you you're in the right direction, that tells you that by coaching in that area, that by improving those skills of those individuals, that by leading with that coaching conversation, you're actually having a material impact on the performance of the organization. And I'm not talking lagging indicators here. I'm not talking about we're at the end of the journey and we can look back and go, pat on the back, we've increased our SaaS revenue, or we've had 50% growth this year. I'm talking about the things that go into make that outcome happen.
Sure.
So are we talking to the right people? Are we uncovering the right problems? Are we generating things in the right areas? Are our ratios of meetings to opportunity right, so that we can pinpoint and say, well, what's not working? Where do we need to spend more efforts? And are we going in that right direction?
Yeah, the one of the things that comes to my mind, and we'll sort of wrap up with a final question here for you, and that is, I know I'm a big golfer. I've spent years improving, and I have practice routines and measurements and all that. But I also know that when I do get coached by someone, I really only want to focus on one thing at a time, right? What is your advice of having too much? You need to do this, you need to do that, and you have these 7 things. Do you try to focus on one thing at a time as a coach, or can you do multiple things? And how do you prioritize?
It's a great question, that, Bob. I would absolutely agree with you. 1 or 2 things. When I've delivered sales training myself, at the end of any sales training session, I would have always said, pick one thing. We've learned loads of new things today. Pick one thing that you're going to work on tomorrow and you're going to master. Once you've mastered that, go on to the next thing.
Great.
And you're absolutely right. In that competency blueprint, that blueprint we start at the beginning, when you boil that down and narrow that down into a one-to-one coaching discussion, you want to be flagging the competencies that are going to make the biggest material impact to that individual, and say, right, we're going to spend the next cycle, month, quarter, focusing on honing that skill.
Yeah.
And once we get there, because we've measured the outcomes, we can see, and then we can move on to the next. Because you're right, boiling the ocean will just ruin the effect.
The other thing I think sometimes we as sales leaders make when we wear the coach's hat, right, and we try to coach, is that we think of coaching as, I'm going to listen to a call, like a sales call or maybe a sales demo, and I'm going to coach to that. But there's so many other things. I like your second, really your first point. What does good look like? Well, good may include things like a really good listener, or someone that helps a teammate, or someone that raises their hand to take on more responsibility. So there's all these other things that you can coach to around professional development, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We would always encourage our clients to have a balance of skill set and mindset, style, competencies, right? So somebody can be brilliantly skilled. We've all seen kind of lone wolves. They're brilliantly skilled. They're great at what they do, but they might not have a great attitude. They might not share. They might not give to others and help everybody in the same direction, right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard to have that conversation without having a frame of reference.
Yeah.
So giving those sales leaders that framework, that blueprint that we talked about, and being able to say, look, what good looks like also is about being positive. You know, I've coached people that say, you're great at all the skills, but your negativity is pulling you down.
Yeah.
It's pulling the team down. It's having an impact on you and your ability to use those skills. That mindset is so important. And boiling that down to what good looks like is just as important as the skills.
Well, look, this has been really good. If you're viewing this, first of all, we went a little longer than normal, but I thought it was such an important topic, and Kate's 4 points needed to be explained. So we appreciate you sticking through the end of this video here. Kate, if anyone wants to talk to you, connect with you, learn more about what you do about this topic, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Okay, connect to me on LinkedIn, Kate Lewis, kate@eforenable.com. If you just want to email me directly, that's cool.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. And enjoy. You got some great weather over there in the UK. What time is it? What time is it?
It's just coming 4:30 in the afternoon.
Well, it's 8:30 here in Arizona. So we appreciate you staying late today to do this video. Thanks, everyone. Until next week, good selling. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob.